Paul wrote the Corinthian church in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4. He said, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal." In other words, they're not of the flesh, but they're divinely powerful for the destruction of fortresses, strongholds, fortresses in our life. And he says, "For we are destroying speculations and every lofty thing raised up against the knowledge of God, and we are taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ." In other words, we're casting down, we're destroying, casting down speculations, imaginations, lofty things, anything that is raised up above or against the knowledge of Jesus Christ. We have the power in Jesus Christ to cast it down. Therefore, we have the choice as to what we think. If an evil thought comes into our mind, we have the ability to cast it down, it says. We have the power. It's a weapon of our warfare because the enemy lands on lies that we believe. So he'll tempt us with a lie, and if we ponder it and think about it, meditate on it for a while, we'll eventually act on it. And so we have to be careful what we think. We have to put it through a sieve, put it through a filter, say, just a minute, that thought's from God, but that one's not. And I'm going to cast down any thought that is not from God. I'm not going to receive thoughts that are contrary to God's nature and His truth. Now, for example, these days with the pressures of life and everything, there's a lot of people committing suicide. They're taking their own life. Now, where does that come from? It comes from a thought. The devil puts a thought in the mind. You're no good, or life is too difficult, or this situation's too hard. It'll never get better. Now, if we allow that thought to come in and we meditate on it, in other words, we chew on it, we think on it, that thought is actually going to get bigger. Anything that you focus on will get bigger. You will empower what you focus on. So if you focus on a lie, it's going to get bigger in your mind. When it gets big enough, it'll get not only big enough, but powerful enough to control you into action. It'll propel you into action. So if you're thinking suicidal thoughts and you don't cast them down, the outcome's inevitable. There could be an attempt of suicide. And it all started with a thought. When the devil lies to you, remember the exact opposite is usually the truth. For instance, if he says you're worthless, it means you have great worth. So if a thought comes into your mind that says, I'm worthless, cast that down, but then don't just leave it cast down. Take up the true thought as well, which is, just a minute, I'm not worthless. I cast that one down. I'm full of worth. I'm full of value because Jesus gave His own life's blood for me. What about the lie that says, life is too hard. It's never going to get better. You cast that down because it's a lie. The exact opposite is true. You're an overcomer. The Word says that you are led into victory in all things. He always causes you to triumph. It says that you're the head and not the tail. You're a winner. You're above and not beneath. I mean, what could be more further from the truth than a lie that says you're not going to make it, things are too hard, you're not ever going to get the victory, nothing's going to change. What about the scripture that says the latter glory of the house is even greater than the former? The things get better as you go on. So cast down the lie and then take up the truth. This is really, really important to learn to do this. What you believe creates your world. What you think on, what you meditate on, what becomes your core beliefs is what you're going to act upon. Now, I have a book called Create Your World. I also have a manual. I have a CD set, a DVD set that goes along with it because I so believe in this subject. But part of creating your world is starting with what you believe. What you believe will create something. But you can, with intentionality, create your world by choosing God's thoughts over the enemy's. If you choose the enemy's thoughts, if you choose to act on what he tells you, you'll create a disaster. You'll create a bigger mess. But if you take the truth of God and activate it, it will create a realm of blessing for you. And so the weapons of your warfare, they're not of the flesh. They're mighty through God to the destroying of fortresses or to the pulling down of strongholds. Those strongholds, those fortresses, They're in the mind, they're belief systems. So make sure your core belief is strong. How do we get it strong? By meditating on the truth and by casting down everything that is an imagination, a speculation, a lofty thought that is against the truth of who God is and what He says. God bless you. I just want to encourage you also that if you feel led or directed in any way to help support our ministry for creating media, we would so appreciate. In fact, you can go on the donate page on our ministry site and just go right there and donate to XP Ministries, and that will go towards creating more media. So thank you, and God bless you for your love for Him and for the body and for the lost.